I want to start this course with an effect that everybody knows. Everybody is familiar with the 99 effect, essentially when I price something as $4.99 instead of $5. And I'm starting with this effect for two reasons. One, I want to show you in general what I mean when I talk about psychological effects on price perception. And so we'll look at how this example tells us about all the kinds of things we'll look at in this course based on something we're already familiar with. But I also want to show you this so that you can see how scientific research can establish the benefit of these kinds of psychological pricing effects. So as we go through this lesson, know that I'm not trying to teach you something new in this effect specifically, but I want to show you something more about how this course as a whole is going to operate. So the 99 effect, what I mean by this is that use 99 or 9 ending in general prices instead of round 0 ending prices. This is the strategy to take away. It's been around forever. You can see the citation there in the bottom right corner is Ginsburg 1936. So these ideas have been around for a long time. But one interesting thing that I wanted to share with you is the history of 99 prices. Why is it that people started charging 99 cents instead of $1 in the first place? Well, interestingly, this seems to have its origins not in psychology and trying to hack pricing procedures, but it was just totally practical. In the late 1800s, when cash registers were first rolled out as a widespread thing in stores, the owners of stores wanted to make sure that the employees would open the register to deposit the money every time a purchase was made. So rather than trust the employees to just handle and put away the payment that customers were giving, the owner needed to know that the employees weren't just going to pocket the money, right? So if something cost $2, someone could give $2 and the employee could just stick that money in his or her pocket. However, by using a 99 price, by saying $1.99 instead of $2, it ensured, or at least gave more incentive for the employee to make sure that he or she was opening the register for every purchase, because it was not likely that people would have the exact change for 99-cent prices. So I thought that was just kind of interesting. I didn't know that before. But it's sort of one reason why these prices started, and then as we'll see, they have another even more important benefit now in the age beyond cash registers. Let's take an example from something that maybe you want to do with your own pricing strategy. Let's say that you have an Etsy store or something and you're selling soap that you make. You could price that soap as €5. Now, this is another point that I'm going to try to make. Throughout this course, the actual currency doesn't really matter. We're talking about number perception. So €5, £5, $5, whatever. The effects will be the same. I mostly use dollars just because that's the currency I'm most familiar with, but I just wanted to use this as an opportunity to show you that we're talking about numbers and not necessarily about the currency. Okay, so let's say you have a thing of soap. You want to sell it for $5. You could price it at $5, or you could price it at $4.99. The practical real difference between these prices is almost non-existent. $5 equals $4.99 as far as we're concerned, but we know that $4.99 feels like a lower price than $5. That's the strength of the 9 effect. And that's what I mean when I say that psychological tricks can make some prices appear lower and appear more attractive without changing the real price or amount of money that you're making. So similarly, without cents being involved, let's say I want to sell a full course that I'll mail to you in a box with a bunch of notebooks. I could sell that course for $200, or I could sell it for $199. Again, the real practical difference here is almost nothing, but $199 feels like a lower price than $200. And just to show you that it doesn't need to be $99 necessarily, any 9 price can pull it off. $80 down to $79, again, has this enormous benefit, and all you're doing is changing the last number in the price. Okay. In general, we'll talk about sort of odd number pricing. Some people will use 7 or 5 or 3 as an odd number that tends to seem to work a little bit better, but the convention is 9, and it's mostly what we'll look at in this course. So how do we know if this really works, right? It's one thing to look out in the world and see, wow, everything is priced at $4.99 instead of $5. Everything is priced at a 9 ending instead of a 0 ending. But that is all fine and good, but we don't really care if it doesn't change people's buying behavior. So this is a great example of how psychology research can establish scientifically the impact of a tiny change like this. So Schindler and Kuberian in 1996 published this paper where they reported the results of a study they ran by manipulating actual catalogs that were sent out to people. I don't know how frequently catalogs are used anymore, but in the 90s, this was the go-to strategy. And so what they did is they constructed 2 versions of the same catalog. They worked with a clothing retailer to just do this experiment. And so for half of the people who got the catalog from this company, the prices were round number prices. Right? Things were listed as $5, $10, $17, not a 99-cent kind of a deal. So half the people who got the catalog saw the prices listed in that way. The other half of people got exactly the same catalog, exactly the same items, pretty much the same prices, except they were all 99-cent type prices. So what would have been $5 in the other condition is $4.99 in this condition. And they mailed them out, randomly deciding that some of the customers would get one version of the catalog and some of the customers would get another version of the catalog. And what they wanted to see is, does something as simple as knocking 1 cent off of every price in a catalog change buying behavior? And so they looked at people who responded to the catalog. How much money did they end up spending on their order? How many items did they buy, in other words? And here's what they found. For the people who got the 99-cent price version of the catalog, they went on to spend more money per person than people who got the round ending version of the catalog, showing how that little change can have an impact on people's actual purchasing behavior. In fact, people made 8% more purchases for 99-cent versions of the catalogs than the round number. 8% is a genuine increase in revenue without really changing the price of your items in practical terms, just changing the number that's associated with the general price. You're losing maybe a cent per, a few cents per person, depending on what they're buying, but you're seeing people buy more because each item feels less expensive. So through this research, what we can see is that, of course, using 9 ending prices instead of round ending prices is beneficial. We already thought we knew that to begin with, but by looking at scientific data, we can establish that it really does affect people's purchasing behavior, and it's something so slight and so small that it changes perceptions of prices, and that's why it has its effect. So for the rest of this section of the course, we'll talk about similar kinds of things, talk about when 9 ending prices continue to be the best strategy, talk about times when it's actually better to use round ending prices, and also look at some reasons why this has its effect, along with a host of other number-specific strategies you can adopt.